everyone, it's Natasha. Here's the 2 cards I'll be making today. Today it's all about pastel backgrounds and cute animals. So I'll be using Mama Elephant's Stackable Friends and Stackable Cuties, My Favorite Things Blueprint 27 die set, as well as some Distress Oxide inks, and regular Distress inks. I will start with the coloring for each card first, and then make backgrounds and complete the card. So I have a sample image so you can see what the finished product will be, and then you can follow along as I color. I'm using Nuvo alcohol markers, and I will have the ones listed on screen for each image as I color. For each of the images, you'll see that I am outlining the image with the darker color, and then I'm filling in the remaining space with the lighter color. However, to get a feathered or faded out look from the medium or light color to a white, I liberally use the blender pen in a circular motion. Once all of the images are colored, I'm taking a white Jelly Roll pen and adding little highlights to each image. For the background, I have a scalloped panel die cut out from 80-pound smooth white cardstock. The Distress Oxides I am using are Squeeze Lemonade, Tumbled Glass, and Spun Sugar. I'm using an ink blending sponge for each color, but blending brushes would work here as well. So I'm starting with the Squeeze Lemonade and making 4 diagonal lines approximately an inch apart. It doesn't have to be exact since we'll be blending colors over other colors. Next, I blend some spun sugar, also in a diagonal line, being sure to overlap some onto the Squeeze Lemonade to create a pastel orange color at the transition points. Finally, I blend tumbled glass in the remaining white spaces, again being sure to overlap the blue onto both the pink to create a light purple and onto the yellow to create a light green. Once I have the stripes established, I can go back over with any of the colors if I'm not totally happy with the blending or if I want more of the in-between colors. Once that is complete, I take some Lawn Fawn liquid stardust and I'm just going to give it a good shake and water it down. I'm going to use this to splatter all over my card panel. And then I'll let that dry for a few moments, and now I'm ready to assemble my card. I have the rectangular frame cut out from some white cardstock, and I just have laid it on top of the background and placed the animals so I know where I'm going to stamp my greeting. I'm using a greeting from Stackable Friends and inking it up using black onyx VersaFine ink. I use this ink because it holds up well on top of the more opaque oxide background. Keep in mind, you can use a stamp positioner for this instead, but I opted to freehand it because I had the card elements temporarily positioned. Once I had the sentiment stamped, I adhered the frame with some liquid adhesive and then popped up the animals in and around the frame. I completed the card by adhering this panel to a white card base. So now we're on to the second card. Once again, I will start with the coloring, and I'll have the colors that I've used on screen in the top right corner. Once the images are completed, I am again taking the white Jelly Roll pen and adding little highlights to the animals. For this background, I'll be using regular Distress inks. I have a scalloped panel cut out from some cold pressed cotton watercolor paper. Again, this was using the scallop die from the Blueprints 27 die set. To start, I'm using my glass craft mat. A silicone mat would work as well too. This will be my palette. I'm twisting each ink pad onto the glass media mat to get the palette all set up. And once all the colors are applied, I will spritz a bit of water to make them a bit easier to paint with. I'm also applying a bit of water to my paper so it is not completely dry upon application. So the 8 Distress inks I am using are Cracked Pistachio, Tumbled Glass, Shaded Lilac, Spun Sugar, Tattered Rose, Dried Marigold, Scattered Straw, and Squeezed Lemonade. I've divided the paper into approximate 8s, so each of the colors will be applied to one of the 8 sections. I ended up doing this a few times because the colors were so light and I wanted a bit more vibrancy here. I'll be sure to add more water as needed to allow everything to flow easier. Also be sure to let the colors overlap and mix a bit at each transition point. So once I applied the second batch of color, I let it dry. You can use an embossing tool to speed up this process. I wanted some splatters, so I watered down a few of the colors and splattered them, keeping them close to their corresponding color on the panel. I let that dry again, and then I placed my animals on the card, once again using them as a guideline for the stamp sentiment. I'm using the same sentiment from Stackable Friends, again with VersaFine Black Onyx ink to get good coverage on the textured watercolor paper. Feel free to use a stamp positioner instead, especially if you're using a more textured paper. Sometimes you need to stamp a second or third time on very textured watercolor paper. I adhered these to the panel using foam squares, and finished off the card by adhering it to a white card base. And there's the 2 completed cards. I hope you enjoy these and make your own pastel backgrounds that are the perfect backdrop for cute critters.